And we're back with episode 9 of Just Press Pause. I'm Andrew Kozak. Thanks so much for listening or watching or both. We've had a little bit of a lull between episode 8 and this episode, mainly because I have been so busy with my full-time job. So as many of you know, I am a meteorologist for Spectrum News 1 in Columbus, Ohio. We cover all 88 counties, which means if there's severe weather, tornado warnings, you name it, my butt's in the studio. And that's where it has been for the last couple of weeks. We've had a couple of days where I've been there for 12, 13, 14 hours and 5, 6, 7 hours at a time on air. Basically, we call that wall to wall coverage when we have lines of thunderstorms that go from the west side of the state all the way through the east side. We track them from Indiana through Pennsylvania and West Virginia. So been kind of busy as the weather pattern has, well, kept me busy, but now we're entering a bit of a lull when it comes to the summertime. So as we get into the middle of July, we're going to see hot and dry conditions, a couple of pop-up storms in the afternoon, but the weather pattern is certainly not going to keep me as busy moving forward the next month or so as it has the last month or so. It gives me time to catch up on these podcasts. I've got some great guests coming your way in the next couple of weeks. I'm excited about today's. He's somebody I saw on Shark Tank, a local Ohioan that pitched a great idea, and he's coming up with a great way, and has come up really with a great way of helping his community while starting a business that he's really been involved in since the time that he was in the Peace Corps. So we're going to be talking to Evan Delahanty. He is with Peaceful Fruits, and if you're a fan of Shark Tank, you may have caught his episode. So very excited about that. And of course, we're going to be talking about your water cooler weather as well. Before we get into that, a quick reminder, you can always watch these on youtube.com/Andrew Kozak TV or search for Just Press Pause. And of course, Just Press Pause is available on all the podcasting apps, including Stitcher, Spotify, Deezer, Outcast, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts as well. All right, would appreciate a subscribe. And of course, we'll have much more to come in the next couple of weeks as I ramp up some more episodes. But right now, let's bring on your water cooler weather. So today's water cooler weather basically stems from what I just talked about, getting into a dry and hot weather pattern. It's an excuse this time of year for many meteorologists, myself included, locally and nationally, to talk about heat-related illnesses, heat stroke, heat exhaustion, and what to do and what not to do when the temperature rises. And you know the drill. Drink plenty of water, plenty of time inside, limit the exposure outside, especially when we combine the heat and humidity with air quality alerts. That's all well and good and something we can cover at a later time. But right now, what I want to talk about today is what to look for when your pet, specifically your dog, overheats, because dogs can be affected way quicker than humans can when it comes to the heat. And of course, they don't have a real easy way of communicating to us that they're overheating. So I want to read you a couple of quick statistics that I put together. First of all, the average survival rate of a dog diagnosed with heat stroke is only 50%. So once a dog has heat stroke, there's only a 50-50 chance that they're going to survive. The body temperature in which canines' organs begin to fail, 109 degrees. And keep in mind, a dog's internal body temperature is usually on average about 103 to 104. When it comes to leaving your dog outside, even just for 15 minutes, that's how quickly they can die from heat stroke. So that is something that we look for very, very carefully when it comes to dogs, is making sure they're not left outside for extended periods of time, even in the shade. And remember, when the seasons change, and it seems like they change so quickly, we never really have a chance to kind of acclimate. It can take a dog about 45 to 60 days to go from one temperature extreme to the other and have their body acclimate to that. So if you're going to go from a pretty cool and mild spring to a very hot summer in just a matter of weeks, well, that takes a toll on a dog's body. So just kind of keep that in mind as well. So let's start with the heat signs and the obvious signs for dogs. First of all, heat exhaustion, much like humans, can be lethal. And since dogs, as I said, cannot communicate to us when they're getting too hot, you really have to make sure that they're hydrated and cool. Prevention is the key. That's something we always say. Now, remember, I just said that a dog's body temperature is normally about 103 to 104. They can start overheating as soon as they reach 106, with that organ failure happening at about 109. So the good news is it's not that difficult to see that a dog is overheating. There are some signs that are out there, like first and foremost, excessive panting. If you see a dog excessively panting, that's a sign that they are overheating. Now, there are some other subtle motions or behaviors they can have, like, well, not paying attention to you when you call their names, snap your fingers, or make a noise, and they're kind of looking the other way, not paying attention. It could be that they're just preoccupied with the fact that they're overheating and getting hot. According to the Humane Society of the United States, other signs of potential heat stroke include glazed eyes, excessive drooling, lethargy, and in the most serious cases, a loss of consciousness. Now, heat stroke is far more fatal than heat exhaustion. Heat stroke kills 50% of dogs that get it. Signs here include a racing heart, legs that start to collapse or shiver, glassy eyes, a fearful expression. And the other thing is, you could start to see their gums turning red or even purple. That in the heat would indicate that a dog is really starting to suffer from heat stroke. Now, it's also noteworthy, I want to remind you this, that some breeds are more prone to heat exhaustion and heat stroke than others. Those with short noses, flat faces, like Shih Tzus, pugs, and boxers, bulldogs also, they're at greater risk for heat related illnesses than other dogs like golden retrievers or labs. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind. All right, so what should you do if a dog does overheat? Well, of course, take immediate action to cool them down. You want to move them out of the sun into the shade, preferably into air conditioning. And you want to also dampen up some towels with cool water, not cold, cool, because cold could shock them. Cool water to kind of just bring their body temperature down slowly. You want to do it in a very calm and a very gentle way. Remember, just a rise in body temperature of 3 degrees doesn't seem like a lot, but it is, can have serious consequences on your dog's health. Now, remember, if in doubt and you think that it may be more than heat exhaustion, it might be heat stroke, always take your dog to a vet. Never think about, well, maybe I should wait and see if he recovers or she recovers. Now, you want to make sure because a dog, unlike us, cannot complain as vividly as we can. There's no language there other than those signs we just talked about. Like so many other health related issues, prevention is the key. Plenty of fresh, cool water. Change the water bowl frequently throughout the day. And if you have a backyard dog, when the temperature starts going above 85, 90 degrees, make sure they're inside. Even if they got a nice, shady doghouse, it is very important that you leave them inside in air conditioning when the heat starts to get a little uncomfortable. If we're uncomfortable, they are uncomfortable. And before we go, not that I really need to remind everybody this, but just another word of caution: never ever leave a dog in a hot car unattended. Even with the windows cracked, it can go well above 130 degrees in there and they could pass out even after just a couple of minutes. A lot of good tips there. Again, remember to check the Humane Society of the United States for more tips and for more information on heat exhaustion and heat stroke in your animals. All right, switching from animals to plants, specifically fruits and vegetables. My guest was on Shark Tank, and I'm excited to talk to a local Ohioan about a business that he started here that continues to grow today. Let's start. Just press pause.
You're listening to the Just Press Pause podcast with Andrew Kozak.
So I'm sitting at home one night and I'm flipping the channels and Shark Tank comes on. I think to myself, I haven't watched this in a while. So I park myself down, I start watching, and I hear the word Ohio. So obviously my ears perked up a little bit. And I watched a guy on there that had a really cool concept for something. And the background of it was, I thought, a pretty amazing story. And he joins me today. Evan Delahanty, thank you so much for joining me on Just Press Pause.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me, Andrew. Appreciate it.
So it's not just, hey, I saw this guy on Shark Tank, I want to have him on. I saw you on there and I thought your story was amazing. And just for anybody that hasn't seen it or doesn't know, basically you are a volunteer in the Peace Corps. You helped Indigenous people with social and economic development, and you saw the love that they had for the land. And then when you got back to Ohio, you turned it into something really positive, started a company, and again, went all the way up to Shark Tank and now beyond. Tell me a little bit about your background and, first of all, what the company is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started Peaceful Fruits just over 5 years ago now. Boy, time flies past. And I started Peaceful Fruits to continue that philosophy and that journey that I started in Peace Corps. And so what started as a guy from Akron, Ohio, moving to the heart of the Amazon rainforest to help folks way the heck out there improve their standard of living, improve community economic development opportunities. I came back from that. I just wasn't ready to let go of the mission or the people or that philosophy of helping people to build a better life for themselves. And that's why I started Peaceful Fruits, sort of at the hybrid of, the mission-based approach, nonprofit, NGO approach of an organization like Peace Corps, and social mission based, but still a for-profit business on the business side, which is what we all deal with every day. And so Peaceful Fruits is a mission-based certified B Corp right there in the middle between those two ideas. And we're using sustainably sourced fruit from the Amazon and beyond now But when we first started, it was just the Amazon. And we're employing folks with disabilities here in Northeast Ohio to kind of bring that mission home. And we're using those folks to help us make an awesome, healthy, delicious fruit snack out of those amazing rainforest fruits. So we're just trying to make it full circle for everybody involved.
So, how did you get to Shark Tank? Because obviously, starting a business, I don't know a lot about starting a business. I've always worked for somebody. And as long as I continue to do what I do, I will always do that unless I hit the lottery and buy a television station. But
Could happen.
I don't know, man, we'll see. But, I don't know a lot about business. And I just feel like starting a business, especially, I know have been doing this for a couple of years, but in today's economy and climate, it's a tough thing to do. So how did you get to the point where you felt like I could go on Shark Tank now and ask for some money in exchange for some equity?
Yeah, I mean, and we're still very much of a startup. Somebody much smarter than me said that it takes at least 10 years to be an overnight success. So we're only halfway there. And hopefully we get there one day. But we did have a really big breakthrough moment when we were featured on ABC Shark Tank and got to present the product and the mission and the cohesive whole that is our business to the sharks and to 8 million or however many eyeballs it was at home, which was just a fantastic opportunity that we were so lucky to get. And another person much smarter than me said that the harder you work, the luckier you get. And it's definitely it's a combination of those couple of things, right? Where I set out to start a business, and I'd always known that I wanted to start a business and kind of build my own kingdom, so to speak, and see if I'm half as smart as I think I am. But what happened along the way is, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, I'd be there hustling in the Giant Eagle on the corner, giving out samples, telling every little lady that rolled past in her shopping cart, like, hey, try my snacks, try my snacks. Let me tell you about the people that make them. Let me tell you about the people that harvested it. And, they'd stop, they'd listen to my spiel, and they'd say, well, good job, Sonny, good for you. You should go on Shark Tank. And I'm like, thanks, great advice. Like,
Yeah.
I should meet Oprah when she's hungry after
Right.
a power walk. I should win Powerball. These are great pieces of advice. We don't really engage it. But enough people said it to me, and we were able to start hitting some milestones in the business where we did a Kickstarter campaign that was very successful. We doubled our goal in a month. We won a local social enterprise accelerator pitch contest where we won a $20,000 grant, and we're featured on IdeaStream and a couple of other local media outlets. And we did a good job with that pitch. And so I said, okay, well, maybe the story does have some legs. Maybe this product, maybe we have something that Shark Tank would be interested in. So why not? And I applied, and they called me back like 2 weeks later. And there were a lot of hoops to jump through. But the first one was they literally picked up the phone. They answered. They called me. I answered, and they said, hey, this is such and such from Shark Tank. Do you have a minute? And I was like, does anyone say they don't have a minute for Shark Tank?
Right.
And she was like,
that is a call that you absolutely dropped
right,
everything else.
You
for.
take that call, right?
Yeah.
And she was like, pretty much everybody says they have a minute. So give me your elevator pitch. 30 seconds, go.
Being the social enterprise business model that you have, were you nervous? Because there are so many people that go on there. I would say probably a vast majority of people that go on there, and it's crank out a product, crank out an idea, make a profit. And, in fact, I was just watching an episode the other day where somebody was just talking about, well, I got the cost down because I do all my labor out in other countries. I ship it off to China, I ship it off to Taiwan. Were you worried that these sharks, who obviously built their money on million and billion dollar businesses, would not, be receptive to what you had?
Well, I think that's really where I went in with 2 or 3 very clear-eyed goals. And one of those was just to introduce the idea of social enterprise to the sharks, who are, especially Mark Cuban and some of the others, are familiar with it. Others, Kevin O'Leary, for example, is familiar with it, but anti-social enterprise. But Americans at home may not know what that means, which it's really that hybrid between a mission and a for-profit business to try to do both at the same time. And so I wanted to take that opportunity to introduce the concept. And really, again, if I'm half as smart and persuasive, and if my jokes are half as good as I think they are, I should be able to educate these 5 people in a way that will make them understand that value. And that's what I really set out to do, was to say, yeah, we're not doing it the cheapest, but we're doing it in a way that helps our community. And if we do it right, consumers will reward us for that, taking that extra mile.
I think that what really made me, my ears perk up, not just the Ohio connection. I think I would have remembered your pitch and your episode had I not been in Ohio, just because it's the
Well,
first
thank you.
time I had, well, really, it's the first time I had seen a social enterprise business model ever being pitched and talked about. I mean, you always hear about businesses that give to charity or
Hmm.
employ people with disabilities, but you never really hear the backstory. You never really hear about somebody's, from start to finish, conception to where you are now. And I thought it was an amazing story. And I think even if you did not get a deal, you still went on and educated probably a large percentage of the people that were watching. I think that's
Hmm.
pretty incredible.
Well, thank you. I mean, and that's part of. I knew that for sure. In business, I mean, really in life, but especially when you start your own business, the reality is that most businesses fail. Most startups fail. And so, as a business owner, as someone who's an entrepreneur, it's important to really think about how you define success. And to me, obviously, a giant payout, $100 million buyout from Nestle or something, sure, that'd be great, but there are milestones along the way that are just as, if not more important. And one of those to me specifically for Shark Tank was I want to help prove this concept. I want to educate people about this concept. I just want to make this more mainstream. So
Mhm.
people are looking for it when they're shopping. They're looking for it when they're, hiring, when they're choosing jobs, when they're choosing businesses to start, just to bring this into the mainstream. Just like organic produce is now wholly accepted. 20 years ago, it was like, well, why would I pay extra for that? For
Right.
that, what's really the benefit? Now everybody buys organic produce, or at least more and more popular. So that's what I want to do for social enterprise.
So, where is your business based in? Just for people that are not, not familiar, and how many people do you employ?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are just south of Akron in a little town called Barberton. Uh, and, honestly, I really tell people we ended up there by accident. We were just looking to move onward and upward from our previous space. We were in sort of a shared use commercial kitchen, and we're looking for our own facility as we were growing post Shark Tank. And just the team, the city of Barberton, their economic development folks, the mayor, everybody there was just so great to help us find a space. And we ended up rehabbing an abandoned Burger King and turning it into a production facility for
Wow.
us. So it was just, great partnership. It really fit our values. And so now, yeah, uh, we have about four people that work full time out of that facility. And then a large percentage of our folks are part time because we employ a lot of adults with disabilities. That's our main production force, is folks with developmental disabilities. And so they don't tend to work 8-hour shifts just because of the challenges that they
Right.
face. But we have over a dozen people that are there, at different times throughout the week, working to help us produce the snacks, package them, ship orders, everything in between. So if you get some snacks from Peaceful Fruits, that was, because of a full wage job for the
Mhm.
folks with disabilities that are a core part of our team. And we're really, really proud of that.
So, where can people get them if you're in Ohio?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are in Kroger stores across Ohio. If you're a Kroger, big grocery store, obviously. Uh, Giant Eagle Market District, another great, not based in Pennsylvania, but a lot of stores here in Ohio. Um, if you're up in the Northeast Ohio area where I am, some local favorites like the Mustard Seed or Krieger's, Lucky's down in Columbus and Cleveland, two great
Mhm.
semi-local stores. And of course, everybody's local store these days, Amazon. We're
Yeah.
there. We'll see you tomorrow.
Did you
Can't
see?
beat it.
Did you see your sales spike after your appearance on Shark Tank? I would guess you probably did.
Well, we were tiny when we went
Yeah.
on Shark Tank. And I mean, we're still a small guy, but we've been growing very well. So I'm really proud of what we've accomplished. But we had about 50 online orders in total when we went on Shark Tank. And I got 1,000 in the 5 minutes during the episode.
Wow, that's incredible. And then, of course, you might see some spikes with all of the. I mean, obviously, I didn't watch it live. I watched it a
Mhm.
repeat
Right.
because
Right.
remind everybody, you were on Shark Tank not very recently, but a couple of years ago.
Yeah, it was about 2.5 years
Yeah.
ago. And yeah, and we continue to bump into folks like you that are seeing it for the first time, or bumping into it, and because a lot of people engage Shark Tank like you do. They just flip it on, they bump into
Mhm.
it, a clip of it here and there. And so yeah, we continue to have great conversations with folks that are meeting us for the first time and either ordering product or talking to us about the mission. And we just love to engage with folks because, as I said, that's one of my goals for this, is to make it more mainstream. And you don't have to be a fruit snack fanatic to want to make the world a better place, with your daily shopping and daily business approach. So
One of the things I thought that struck me too is I don't eat as an adult. I don't eat a lot of sugar. I'm more cognizant of what I put into my body, especially lately. I've been on more of this health
Mm,
kick. But as a kid, that's all I had was fruit snacks put into my lunchbox.
yeah.
The gushers, the stuff that, I mean, it was advertised as fruit, but really all it was sugar, additives, corn syrup, things like that. What really struck me about your pitch too was it's 100% fruit, and even so many of the snacks that are on shelves these days that are more mainstream, the bigger companies, the multi-million dollar national, international brands, they
Hmm.
advertise themselves of all natural fruit, but that's not really what they are. Your product's different.
It's so true. And that's really one of the biggest challenges that we face is education, because the big guys do such a good job of fooling you where, you walk down that aisle in the grocery store and it says made with real fruit, or it says, 100% juice, but then you flip over the back and it says made with real fruit. But that's because, it saw a strawberry at some point, right? And the fruit's the last ingredient, or it's,
Mhm.
fruit, strawberry essence, like that's not a strawberry. Like, come on. And so, yeah, we really set out to build something honest where that's exactly what we do. It's a full serving of fruit. It's literally, if you go on our website, you can get the secret recipe. Be careful, but it's a handful of strawberries. It's a little bit of apple. It's a handful of blueberries. Whatever it is for each specific recipe. But we show you exactly what goes in, because it shouldn't be mad science. It's fruit snacks. Like, the magic is in how we make it, and
Mhm.
that's where, talking about, the health and everything else going on in the community right now, that's where I'm just so passionate about pushing this forward, is because people just need better options, right? They need better options for the food that they eat, where they don't even realize the harm they're causing, and they
Mhm.
need better options for the businesses that they work for and support, so that they're, making a difference in their community every single day, as opposed to, just as a one-off when are putting a mask on or walking down the street or whatever it is. We have to make it our habit to make our bodies and our community better, just as part of our normal way of doing life. And that's what we're all about.
And here's the things that really has changed for me, and I think a lot of people as well. I became more cognizant in the last year of what I'm putting in my body, like I said, and I've been learning too. It's not so much the meat or the fat. It's a lot of it is so much of it is that added sugar. That's really the
Hmm.
enemy, is the added sugar. But I'm also finding myself these days more and more cognizant of the companies that I'm buying from. And you don't ever hear, or I mean, with you do, but with a lot of these big brands, you don't really hear about the backstory, about what kind of labor these companies are putting in. A
Hmm.
lot of times,
Hmm.
especially in the 90s, I think that's when we really first started getting cognizant, when you heard a lot of clothing companies employing
Yeah.
child labor. And then
Hmm.
you wanted to stay away from those companies because you knew what they were doing in other countries and it just wasn't right. But you don't always think about it when it comes to food products. And you don't always think
Yeah.
about these companies and what they're doing as far as employing people or what they're doing overseas. And I think it's so important that you're bringing awareness to, hey, you know what? It's just as important what you're putting into your body as the companies, what they're actually doing, where you're buying it from.
That's so true. And I'll tell you a quick story for how I got one of my very first, professional employees. She was marketing employees. I was in Krieger's, which is a little local store, great store here up here in right outside of Akron, kind of like an overgrown farm stand kind of place. And we're small, especially just a year or two ago. I was in the store demoing my product myself, as I still do sometimes. And this 20 something young lady walks up with her friend, and she's asking about the product, and she just keeps pushing me. She's like, oh, these are fruit snacks. Like, yeah, they're probably made with gelatin. I don't eat that stuff. I'm like, no, 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 they're just made out of fruit. She's like, oh, well, it's probably got all these concentrates and like
Mhm.
fakes, secret sugar in there. I'm like, no, no, it's like literally just you blend the fruits up. And she's like, well, it's probably made in Mexico, slave labor, blah blah blah. I'm like, well, actually,
She was really
right,
trying
she
to
was
catch you in a
she was
hole.
gunning for me, right?
Yeah.
And like, well, and you go through all these questions, and we get to the end, and she's like, oh, that's awesome. Can I give you my resume? Yeah, and it worked out. She was a great employee. She's moved on now to actually work on some of her own endeavors, which I'm incredibly proud of. That
Yeah.
we were kind of able to work together for a couple of years and inspire her to push into her own things. But yeah, I mean, that's the world we live in. Is more and more people are asking those questions,
Mhm.
and it's important to have good answers. And if you do, the universe does recognize that. It takes a while. We don't all make $100 million or whatever,
Right.
but we can do some good in the meantime, and that's what it's all about.
So what's the future of Peaceful Fruits now? You've got some national exposure. You're obviously, I looked at your website. You have new flavors coming out, new products
Yeah.
coming out. So where do you see yourself in 1, 2, 5, 10 years with this company?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, our goal is to make this more and more mainstream, both our approach to the fruit snacks and our approach to business. And so, yeah, and within the, as soon as we can here with everything going on, but, within the next year, definitely look for us to be launching new products that, push out to be more and more accessible, both in terms of price point, flavor profiles, and, just the look and feel to be more, I don't hate to say the word candy, but to be more candy like, to be more fun, so that fruit strips are fun and they're delicious, but kids like shapes, they like interactions, and we want to embrace that, because we want to make, like I said, fruit healthier products part of what people do, and we got to meet them where they are. So
Yeah.
look for us to be launching a lot
wi-
more products that and do that.
Without compromising your integrity and your values and your product.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, and that's where we really have developed over the past couple of years of slow, painful growth. You asked, what's it like to start a business? The answer is pain.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm a pretty lucky guy, so if it's painful for me, just imagine for some of the other folks out there. It's just awe inspiring what some folks have accomplished.
Well,
Um,
it's an incredible story, and like I said, it just struck me as such a really good. A lot of times I see people on Shark Tank, like I said, you didn't get a deal, but a lot of people walk on that show and walk out and don't, and sometimes they're better off for it. You didn't
Absolutely.
compromise, and it's, again, nothing against any of the people on there. In fact, some of the people on Shark Tank, all of them, some of the sharks are just incredible. What they end up taking from humble beginnings and small starts to these
Hmm.
billion-dollar enterprises, but you didn't ever have to risk your integrity by selling out. And it would have been
Yeah.
nice maybe to get a deal, but then you don't even know. There's so much fine print. There's so many different things that can come with the
Yeah.
bigger right away.
Well, and I'll give the Sharks a lot of credit. They recognized very quickly, and I recognized this going in, that we were very early stage
Yeah.
to be on that to be on the show, but we had a great story, and the producers of Shark Tank, the Sharks themselves, ultimately they wanted to help us share that story, and we took that opportunity and ran with it. And I love opportunities like this to talk to a local guy like you to continue to share the story and hopefully bring folks some good news and some
Mhm.
education that helps us all push forward.
It's like I almost got that. I felt like, when you had gone on the show, you didn't have, hundreds of thousands or $1 million in sales because you're so new. But I
Right.
also kind of felt like, maybe they have this guy on because they see the integrity, they see the good in this company, and you know what? This is kind of like almost like a feel good story you want to
Hmm.
put on the
Hmm.
air. So that's how it kind of struck me more than anything. Listen, Evan, before we wrap up, and then I'm going to give everybody, obviously, or you, a time to give everybody some information on where they can get the product and order it online.
Cool.
I do
Thank you.
something called rapid fire with all my guests. So we'll take a couple
All right.
seconds for you to answer
I'll
this.
warm it up here. Yep. Okay. What do we got?
All right, here we go. Name something you learned about yourself during this quarantine that you didn't know about yourself before, since we've all obviously had a lot of time to kind of be alone a little bit.
Uh, I love looking out the window. I didn't realize how much I love looking out the window. I'm obviously, anybody watching the video, I'm taping this from home. I do go into the kitchen almost every day. I'm
Right.
from home right now, but looking out the window, seeing the sun, seeing the wind, seing some green, hopefully, it's just so important to your day. I love it more than I realized.
It's a little bit of normalcy. It kind of remember,
Yeah.
especially when we were really in the thick of it a couple of months
Oh
ago.
yeah.
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 Interesting. Okay, cool. All right. Name your favorite scene in a movie ever. You don't have to love it. Doesn't have to be your favorite movie. You don't have to love the movie 100%, but your favorite scene in any movie.
I'm gonna go with a classic from when I was growing up, in high school or whatever. I love in general the montages in movies,
Hmm.
and one of the best montages ever, in my opinion. Matrix, the first Matrix. Keanu Reeves, Neo, learning kung fu, fighting Morpheus. Just a great. And what I love about that scene particularly is, like, he
Hmm.
doesn't exactly win the fight, but he learns something and he improves, and it pushes him to continue to get better. So that's what I love about
Great.
montages.
It's funny because I kind of thought to myself, I wonder if he's going to say The Matrix. Just side note,
Yeah, we met.
when we were setting this up before we actually went live, we were just doing some camera and audio testing, and he's like, "It's like The Matrix." I'm like, when I ask him that question, I wonder if he's
I,
going to
I
go.
I glance at the show notes. I try to prepare.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, The Matrix is, in fact, I just last week I was looking at, they were talking about movie production, obviously a shutdown for pretty much every film
Right.
series. And I just read that somebody had started, I don't remember if it was The Matrix 4 is in pre-production.
I heard, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that should be interesting. Although, there's always that, should they left it alone? Will it add value? So there's always
Yeah,
that.
who knows?
Yeah. But if you're
Well,
a
we'll
fan,
have
you probably
to
want to see.
we'll have to get back together after when 4 is out, and you and I can do a quick review. We'll see.
Absolutely, absolutely. Listen,
Sounds
Evan,
good.
before we go, I want to give everybody a chance to take a look at Peaceful Fruits. So give your pitch, your website, how they can order it online. And we talked about the stores, and I'll put that up on the screen too. But
Awesome.
just
I
for
appreciate
anybody that
that.
might be outside of Ohio, outside of the area that may want to give this a try, how do they get it?
Yeah, absolutely. Check out www.peacefulfruits.com to order from us directly, or if it's easier for you, Amazon.com, Peaceful Fruits. Look us up. We're the guy. And absolutely, I mean, whatever way it works for you, check us out online, order it, get it in. If you order from us directly, we'll share some information about the people that are packing, and making those snacks. You can be part of the story of really making a difference in the community, in the world, through our sourcing procedures, and in your own life by eating better snacks. So hopefully we'll see you guys, Amazon, our website, peacefulfruits.com, and we'll continue to share our snacks and our story with as many people as we can. So thanks.
Evan Delahanty, thank you for joining me here on Just Press Pause. Appreciate it, and good luck.
Thank you so much, Andrew. It's great to talk.
And that is episode 9. Thank you so much to Evan Delahanty from Peaceful Fruits for joining me today on Just Press Pause. For more information on Peaceful Fruits, visit their website, as Evan said, at peacefulfruits.com. If you're in Ohio, check them out at Kroger, Giant Eagle Market District, or Lucky's. Outside of Ohio and worldwide, check them out on Amazon.com. Just Press Pause can be listened to on Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. Of course, you can also watch this, if you're not watching it already, on youtube.com/AndrewKozakTV. Please subscribe if you can. And hey, a quick shout out to Taryn Lopez for the great cover artwork for Just Press Pause. Thanks so much for listening and watching. Stay tuned for episode 10.